Hello, I'm Dr. Yvonne, and I'm here to talk to you about NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro being the neurological links in our brain, linguistic being the language we use to describe our experiences of our world, what we perceive through our five senses, our visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory experiences. And those two things together, the neurological links and the experiences, the perceptions, form our behaviors. And of course, neuro-linguistic programming is about reprogramming those behaviors to produce successful and happier lives. Richard Bandler and John Grinder got together in the 1970s and said, how is it that some people produce amazing results and then other people seem to do the same techniques and don't produce the same results? So they said, could we model people? Could we copy some people's methods? If we take out their personality, if we take out their individuality, can we produce a series or a sequence of events that will repeatedly be able to produce the same results over and over again with consistency and with absolute certainty that we'll go to the same place every time? So they studied Milton Erickson. Milton Erickson in the 1900s was a fabulous hypnotherapist. He was in a wheelchair, so he had a lot of time to study people. And he used a really wonderful hypnosis technique, which is a slow technique and a very soft technique. And he would say to people, let me tell you a story. And that story at the end of it would actually make those people go away and change their behaviors. So Bandler and Grinder said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm telling a metaphor. A metaphor is a story told to the conscious mind to keep it occupied, while the unconscious mind searches for deeper meanings. So fairy stories are very much metaphors. We tell fairy stories to kids, we read them books to give them tools on how to deal with events when they get older, so that they will be able to have predictability in their lives. They also studied hours and hours of footage on video of him, and they said, why are you looking at that woman's foot? And he said, I'm studying her ankle. He said, I'm looking at the heartbeat to see if it's slowing down so that we can really gain good rapport. And they said, why are you looking at her chest? And he said, I'm actually matching my breathing to hers so I can pace and lead her so that we can get in a wonderful place of rapport so that she comes along on the journey with me. I get into her world and then I bring her into mine. They also studied Virginia Satir, who was an amazing marriage counselor, a relationship counselor, family guidance counselor. And Virginia Satir realized that there were various body movements that could be changed so that there would be a different meaning from them. 55% of your communication is your body language. 38% is the tone you use, and only 7% of the words you use. However, the words are really important. We're going to talk about that later. So Virginia Satir would use a phrase like this. Let me tell you something that's really important. 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 Which one did you take seriously of those? Because you can change your body language so that you can produce different results from the person you're talking to. The meaning of communication is actually the response you get. They also studied Fritz Perls. And Perls was a man who actually talked about Gestalt therapy. He actually invented Gestalt therapy. And he said the Gestalt are the experiences we go through as we go through life. He said, you are a Gestalt within a Gestalt. Things are constantly changing, and we need to know how to change and how to direct them so that we're not always influenced from other people's opinions and their words. Did you know that you were born with only half of your brain developed? In that first year of life, your brain doubles in size. And that means a lot of your experiences are actually guided by the environment you're in. And our job as therapists, life coaches, hypnotherapists, NLP practitioners is to change those behaviors. If the behavior is okay, but not very supportive, we modify it so that it becomes supportive. If the behavior is not okay, like alcoholism or drug addiction or workaholic addictions, anything that we use to self-soothe, we can actually delete those files. And the quicker, the better, as far as I'm concerned. I always used to say, if it's going to take someone else 3 years to change something, can I do it in 3 minutes, please? I'm not a babysitter. I don't like seeing people week after week. I would prefer to get in, clear the lot, including PTSD, suicidal thoughts, including depression, anything you like. I've actually made a 4-hour breakthrough blueprint called Mind Super Freeway, which will clear anything that you present me with. For good, permanently. It's magic. And it even surprised me at how good it was, because it's very sequential. It's very much non-situational. We're not cherry picking. We're not doing babysitting. We are actually moving forward and just deleting those files. In fact, let me read you the statistics here. Alfred Barrios, PhD, did a study in the American Health magazine. And he said psychotherapy, the results were 38% recovery after 600 sessions. Talk to your friends, you don't have to pay so much. Behavioral therapy is 72% recovery after 22 sessions. Hypnosis was 93% recovery after only 6 sessions. And my belief is that NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is even faster. So what are you going to learn on the practitioner? The practitioner is fabulous. It really surprised me, because I realized that I could actually have a predictable life, which was magic for me, because it's been very chaotic up until that time. I'd done all kinds of therapy. I'd done talk therapy, gestalt therapy, past life regression, rebirthing, you name it, I'd done it. And every time I was kind of cleared a little bit. I also meditated for 18 years, and that really helped. It actually slowed my thoughts down so I could stay centered a lot more. And it wasn't until I discovered the NLP that I realized that this was magic. It changed my life forever. The first part of the NLP is learning how to set goals sweetly and easily, because most people set goals that are so big and so unachievable and so far into the future that they simply can't ever imagine them coming true. You can think about what you're doing next Christmas or Hanukkah. You cannot think about what you're doing in 5 years, Christmas or Hanukkah. So, you can have a goal set in the distance, but we need a short-term hook to make it come true. And those series of short-term hooks are what lead to our success and our happiness and our freedom and our sense of personal values too, our purpose in life. The next thing you're going to learn is your own rep system, whether you're visual, kinesthetic, auditory, and auditory digital. This, to me, was a revelation. How is it that I could be married to someone who was just like Mr. Spock or Sheldon? And I was visual, kinesthetic. I wanted to be looked at and hugged and kissed. And an auditory digital person thinks in a very linear fashion. So it's like dinner at 5 o'clock, watch TV 6 till 7, sex at 8. And you have to have it in that order, else they get pretty not happy with themselves. So in relationship counseling, it's the only thing I do initially is find out what system you use so that you can understand each other's systems and the way they work together. Someone who's kinesthetic needs to be cuddled, needs to touch the world. In the classroom, that's really important because those kinesthetic kids have to touch their friends, have to touch their books in order to understand and perceive the world. And then the teacher says, don't touch anything. Or the auditory kid is sitting with their ear turned to the teacher so that he can hear what's going on. And then in his report card, it says he doesn't pay attention. The auditory digital child will not be very huggy kiss. It won't particularly be very communicative. So you can tell an auditory digital person something and they won't comment because there's nothing to say. And we go, did you hear me? And they say, yes. And it's very interesting. Your computer geeks or your bankers or your accountants or your bookkeepers, people or engineers, people who actually work with systems are usually well represented in the auditory digital area. People who are auditory typically like music, they don't do eye contact well. People who are visual, we have it over all the others. We have to look good, we're quick, we're spontaneous. Visual kids, visual people consist of 65% of the population, and we're the ones who actually get on best in school because we do eye contact well, we're quick, we catch on fast. We can take in enormous amounts of information simultaneously and produce it fast. The auditory and auditory digital systems are very linear, and it's a slower system by its very nature. We then go on to study eye movements, and where someone's eyes are looking, when they're actually looking at you and thinking about something. So typically when you're thinking about something, you will typically look up in the air. You're going to visual recall, which is to the left, mirrored, that's that way, and visual construct, which is the other way. When you're designing something, when you're thinking about what your car would look like if it was yellow or blue. So you can easily tell from people what system they're using, from the words they use and the predicates, and from the way they look around where their eyes point. We go on to work with emotional work. The emotional work is super important because obviously we want to delete those PPIs, those power potential inhibitors, I call them, anger, sadness, fear, guilt, and anxiety, because as long as you've got an event, the event really doesn't matter. Whatever happens in your life has no bearing on anything really, except the emotional residue it leaves behind. Because at some point, the unconscious mind made a decision to keep that event as an important event and along with everything with it. So something like PTSD, a noise might set up a PTSD event simply because the unconscious mind said, oh, it's happening again. We need to be careful. Your emotions are a messaging system from your unconscious mind to say, can we talk? And it's easy to make sure that you can actually listen to your unconscious mind, really enjoy listening to your unconscious mind, whether it's giving you a negative or a positive emotion. I actually use the words high energy and low energy emotions because there's very much a variation as you go along. So low energy words and high energy words. And did you know that 80% of your self-talk is negative? It's your survival mechanism. It needs to be. If you're walking through a jungle, it's a beautiful day, the sun is shining, and you see some leaves rustling, you better be looking at the leaves because there could be a lion or a tiger coming out at you. And of course, as soon as that animal comes out, your amygdala kicks in, your fight or flight mechanism, you freeze, you run, flight, that's fear. And if the animal catches you, you have to get angry in order to survive. So anger is top dog emotion. And quite often as parents, we don't allow our children to feel anger. We can feel sad, we can love, we can do anything we like, but the second anger comes out, it's like, I can be angry at you, but you're not allowed to be angry back at me. And the punishment comes in. And of course, where does the child put the anger? At the self. So we end up hating ourselves or not feeling good about ourselves because we have nowhere to put that anger. And eventually anger, if it's not expressed, becomes repressed and it becomes rage. And that's where we get all those resultant behaviors of all the self-soothing mechanisms, the alcoholism, the drugs, et cetera, et cetera. And it's easy to clear as long as you go back far enough. Those first 7 years are the imprint period, which is when your job is to give your child as much support as possible, allow them to grow as much as possible, and not say as many of those 150,000 no's that we've all heard before we're 7 years old. So as we go into the NLP and move into different areas, the next thing we're going to learn is how to change those emotions. I have 4 beautiful techniques, really simple techniques that I use in my breakthrough session. Anybody who does a breakthrough session gets these 4 techniques to use for the rest of their lives. You can actually read it into your phone and listen back, and the emotion is cleared so that it's neutral. The beautiful thing about it is I've scripted just about everything. I wasn't very impressed by tell the client to do this, tell the client to do that. I just say simply read the script and you'll get the same result as I do. So my job is to teach you, and within 10 minutes, you can do exactly the same as me and produce those same results because I get great results. So I'm looking forward to seeing you joining an NLP training with me or a hypnosis training, a past life regression, most of all the Masters NLP, which when we do the Masters, you've got a good basis of the NLP. And we also do a time memory continuum, which is going into the timeline and clearing up generational behaviors. And also we're going to learn the 4-hour breakthrough blueprint at the end of the Masters. The last 2 days I spent doing the 4-hour breakthrough blueprint so that you can have some amazing techniques and some great money and help people. My whole job in life is to make sure that we teach our children self-help techniques from the day they're born so that they can actually become wonderful, happy adults. So enjoy this wonderful training. Have a beautiful life and pass on to other people this video, pass on to other people my name. I want to get out there as much as possible this next 2 years and teach as many people as I can these amazing techniques for success, happiness, wealth, love, excitement, and joy. So be kind to yourself today, be kind to any children you meet, and email me, talk to me, Yvonne@globalwelcome.com, or just go to globalwelcome.com and call me on the telephone, on WhatsApp. I'm here, or you can email me for more information. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.